This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. For those having trouble deciding what to do in November, let's just put it in this perspective. A vote for Biden is a vote for supporting more American taxpayer money going to Meghan and Harry. It's also supporting the destruction of America and this radical Marxist agenda that Meghan and Harry are a part of. And whether or not you want to accept or admit it, just know that if you're an American, your taxpayer dollars are going into their pockets. Come on now. Does anyone really believe that she supports Afghan women resettling here in the United States? Meghan doesn't do anything unless she is paid. And quite frankly, her track record of how she treats women in the past is not a shining example of why she should be a pillar of championing anything for feminism, aside from using men to get ahead. Now, I've talked about Mina's List before in a prior video, explaining the organization is backed by former Obama administration members as well as people who had worked for the UN. So, just a quick recap. For those that don't know, Mina's List is a nonprofit organization which works to provide resources, support, tools, and training to empower women political leaders and women human rights defenders in government and civil society. So, another one of these social justice warrior organizations that really is destroying the fabric of the United States. Aside from taking taxpayer money and using it to lobby to Congress, they are supposedly advocating for and with them, whether they are displaced by conflict or in their home countries. Now, fast forward to this press release that Mina's List had published about Archewell. Help me understand, what is it that they did here that has meaningful impact? Because a lot of this word salad that's put up here, when you boil it down, means absolutely nothing. Before we get into this press release by Mina's List, I want to show you how Meghan made money off of this. So, to begin with, the United States has budgeted and has given in federal money, meaning my tax dollars, $20 billion to welcome not only these migrants that have been invading our country, but also during the time of the Afghan evacuation. Every year since 2021, the Office of Refugee Resettlement has been siphoning taxpayer money and awarding contracts to this select group of religious organizations. From Christian groups to Jewish groups, they have been doled out billions of dollars over the last couple of years to resettle these illegal migrants as well as refugees coming from Afghanistan, giving them all the bells and whistles that even some Americans do not have today. So this is why I love the St. Meghan Markle Reddit communities, because the folks in that circle, they're on the ball with capturing everything. And any information that comes out about the dastardly duo, they immediately post it up. And thanks to Won't Yield, they were able to capture this tweet, in which was swiftly pulled down. Now, at the time, people were like, oh, Meghan's getting back into politics, and none of it made sense. Well, I think the reason why they pulled it down was because it doesn't align with the Welcome Corps messaging. Welcome Corps messaging really is governmental money that is being allocated by the Department of State to be allocated to various programs that help Afghans or refugees resettle. And here we have Mina's List coming up out of nowhere, to which Meghan is supporting this political activist group. And I understand why they pulled it down, because it would have drawn a lot of bad attention. So they pulled it down, and it hadn't been talked about again until now, which we see Archewell in this positioning of, oh yeah, we want these refugees to have a sense of community and a sense of purpose. I think they let the cat out of the bag when they dropped this tweet and then had to pull it down because, yeah, it really exposed them. But we'll get to that in a second. I just want to point that out, that this was when we first heard about Mina's List. And that was back in September of 2023. But it just so happened that year, the Department of State had launched this program called the Welcome Corps, which was beginning the private sponsorship of these refugees, which meant that there was money being allocated. So where was that money going towards? Well, it was going into these various resettlement agencies that were given hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts of taxpayer money. So, take, for example, HIAS, which is the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. And I raise this because it's one of the bigger resettlement agencies in which they have received quite a lot of money from the government. And, it doesn't hurt that Mayorkas, the guy that we just impeached from the head of DHS, holding back Harry's visa information, was a board member of this organization. So here we have an organization that is receiving millions of dollars and then taking a cut for themselves and then shelling out to these various organizations, private sponsorship organizations, to then help facilitate getting these people resettled. What's interesting is that this HIAS, I believe I had shown you this in the border migration crisis video that I did, showing you that Meghan and Harry had gave money to this organization. So now when you start to think about how this dirty world of philanthrocapitalism works and stealing American taxpayer money, you start to connect the dots and realize what is going on here. So we don't know if this money actually went to help Ukraine refugees. For all we know, this was an unrestricted grant to which HIAS could use it for whatever they see fit, such as paying salaries, giving bonuses, operational costs, travel costs, even maybe paying consultants. Somebody made off with $50,000. And what I suspect is part of the grift is that Meghan and Harry knew that this organization has been awarded X amount of dollars in government funding. And knowing about this program in which these organizations give out our money, no doubt somehow Meghan and Harry got their hands on some of that money in order to then pretend that they're helping to resettle Afghans. Hence the reason why we see this BS with Mina's list. I can honestly play this out and say, as an example, this is just speculation. Maybe Meghan and Harry gave this $50,000 to whoever because this stuff is corrupt to the core, especially since Mayorkas was a board member of this. And right now, what is going on is absolute treason. We see that the system is corrupt. So what could have possibly happened? Well, maybe in order to be considered for some of this American taxpayer money, $50,000 was the entrance fee to which somebody pocketed. And now Meghan and Harry are getting a check cut for like $250,000 of American taxpayer money, of which maybe 50,000 went to Mina's list, and Meghan saying, oh, you know what? We're going to do a photo shoot to show how caring I am. But folks, that's worth more than 200,000 because I am a duchess. And then that's it. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry pocket $200,000, and we'll never know whether or not it was given by any of these organizations and somehow shifted over to an offshore account and off into the sunset we go. This is how the system works. This is how corrupt and what a sham all of this that's happening here, and taking advantage of this pain and suffering and putting people through this in order to squeeze the taxpayer. It's nothing but greed and selfishness. And then on top of it, you have Meghan contributing and supporting an organization. Does concern me because when you strip away the sugary language and the glossy photo shoot, you realize that this Marxist manipulation really is there to undermine society. We're going to go through this press release that Mina's List had put out so you can see why this should concern people and, why Meghan and Harry need to be stopped. Let's break this down by paragraph. So it says, on Saturday, Mina's List and the Archewell Public Charity brought together 15 Afghan women for a powerful afternoon of communal cooking and storytelling. The event was part of the foundation's Welcome Project, which supports Afghan women who have resettled in the United States to build connection and community. Right off the bat, this is deceptive and manipulative. This was not Archewell Public Charity who had started this Welcome Project. This was the government of the United States who started it. So the next paragraph says, Mina's List has brought together these particular women in Southern California because of their backgrounds in political leadership, journalism, and women's rights activism. They are part of a wave of women who were forced to flee Afghanistan when the Taliban took power in August 2021. For many years, they risked their safety to create a more just and inclusive society, working to promote peace, democracy, women's rights, human rights, and education. Fair enough. Okay, if they were doing this in their country back in Afghanistan and they come here to the land of democracy, freedom that gives human rights and education to women, what are they advocating for? Here's the thing. We have all these refugees and asylum seekers coming to the United States, and the majority of them are wanting to have their own country here and not abide by our culture, not abide by what we stand for. And here they are now advocating for what? For what? I mean, you're having more freedom here than you have had in where you are coming from. I thought part of coming to America was to adopt the American dream of being able to have a life of liberty and the pursuit of happiness. As it goes on to say, now resettled in the United States, this program is supporting them to find community with each other and reconnect with their shared purpose. Now, what may that shared purpose be? Supporting them to find community. Well, what's wrong with the American community? It's not like they're dropped off in the middle of nowhere in Southern California where there's not a town or a city where people could get together and mingle amongst one another. Instead, what we're seeing here is, oh, we need to bring these Afghans together so they can keep their sense of nationality here in, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We see that with the Italians, the Irish. I mean, there is no shame in getting together with people of your same culture. But when whites do it, why is it considered racist? You don't need Megan or taxpayer money to do this. It's as simple as setting up a Facebook page and asking people to join. And then talk amongst yourselves to get these get togethers together and sharing the costs amongst one another, not be a burden on the American taxpayer for it. During the event, the women shared their stories with Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, who co founded the Archewell public charity with Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. Shaba Sharuki told the Duchess about her experience running for parliament in Afghanistan in 2018, having received training in campaigning skills from Mina's list. Now based in Southern California, Ms. Sharuki is supporting other refugees as a caseworker for the Los Angeles International Rescue Committee. Well, bravo, Sharuki. What does this do? Absolutely nothing. You think Megan gives a shit about this story? No. Now, I'm trying to break down this next paragraph. As it says, like Shaba, all of the women in the Welcome Project seek to translate the skills they gained in Afghanistan to the United States. As they do so, they will build new networks with other Afghan women leaders and a sense of belonging with each other. As Palwasha Hassan, Senior Technical and Program Director at Mina's List, shared in her remarks, the program's inclusion of communal cooking helps foster this bond. She noted that in Afghan culture, cooking together is an important way for women to create a safe space to build resilience. She added that continuing this tradition in the new environment will help them build their trust and confidence moving forward. Does any of that sound like it's worth taxpayer money? I'm just asking. Now what I question here is that the women who are part of this Welcome Project, which is funded by the US government, are seeking to translate the skills they gained in Afghanistan to the United States. Now, I have this question. What skills are they trying to translate over here? I mean, if it's as simple as just cooking, wonderful. But is that necessarily worth taxpayer money? Or are we talking about leadership skills in which certain ideologies in Islam could be translated over here? Do we necessarily want that? Like, I don't feel comfortable that my taxpayer money is going towards setting up these Afghan networks when it doesn't include any Americans. How is this happening? What I'm grateful for is that Megan attaches herself to organizations that end up being outed for what they are doing. Megan's radicalized Marxist ideology is in line with all these people that she is associated with. When you look at the ending of this press release, and I can guarantee you that Megan helped write this, it says, As the program continues over the coming months, Mina's List will carry out a series of training workshops to help the women build on their existing advocacy skills. The session will help the women gain better background and understanding on how to conduct advocacy specifically in the US context. My question here is, what are they advocating for? Is it for foreign policy to help shift, the political landscape of women over in Afghanistan, or is it to advocate here in the United States for their rights? My concern is that these people are not American citizens, but are going to Congress to lobby and advocate for what? I mean, they're getting free healthcare, they're getting housing, they're getting money for, other stuff that the American taxpayer is just shelling out to them. For them to what? Destroy our country from inside? It seems like it, because that is what we're seeing happen with these migrants that are coming over here. They can congregate together, but it should be on their own dime. And to close off, it says in her opening remarks at the event, Mina's List executive director, Teresa Casale, shared how this program connects with the organization's mission. She noted, Mina's List was created because we believe in the power of women. We have had a strong focus on Afghanistan, where we have partnered with women leaders in government and civil society. Today, we are advocating for and with these women wherever they are, including in the United States. We are thrilled to launch our first U.S. program with the support and partnership of the Archewell Marxist Foundation. When you deconstruct really what this paragraph is saying, is that the political activism that's happening is truly about destroying the fabric of America. It's not about integrating these women into American culture, society, and this Welcome Project or Welcome US that's being funded by American taxpayers is really not going towards getting them acclimated into society or their path to citizenship or embracing American values. This is about destroying the middle class by stealing our money and using it to fund the destruction of this country. By going into programs like this, when it's supposed to be applied to helping these people get integrated with American society, but instead it's being used for political activism. And here we have Megan, the Marxist malignant narcissist, who is lining her pockets with American taxpayer money. And you have the Biden regime to thank for that. So again, I say a vote for Biden because you don't like Trump is a vote for supporting Megan and the Archewell Marxist Foundation. There are many people that say that they're not going to vote in this election, and that's fair. You have the right to vote and you have the right to not vote. But if you make that decision to not vote and things go sideways and we continue another 4 years with the rate we're going, there will be no more America, and you will have no right to comment or complain about it, particularly when it comes to Meghan and Harry, because make no mistake, they are on board with the Biden regime, as I have laid out on so many occasions. You can bet Trump gets elected, Harry is gone. And that, to me, I think, is enough to give that vote. And that's because it's going to represent putting a stop to these Marxist fascists in trying to destroy our civil liberties, our God given rights. And the people who think like Meghan and Harry and align with one another are the most evil human beings on the planet that need to be watched closely and spoken up about. And that's why I talk about Meghan and Harry. They represent the funk of society that needs to be stopped, quite frankly. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
You're such a fraud.